Happy Home Day, my Facebook members. So I'm actually starting early. So I'm going to let my members come in because there's always a lapse in the streaming. So same thing for Instagram. Instagram is not live yet. So I'm just gonna wait for all the members come in. I see one eyeball. So if you are joining me on Facebook, please let me know you are here. Oh, Felicia, happy hump day. Hey, Sean, thank you for joining me. Oh, you poor thing, 114 degrees at your end. I thought I'm hot over here. It's thunderstorming over here. If you hear some panting in the background, that's my dog. Okay, Daisy, come here. Let me pet you. That poor thing is shaking. Okay, she doesn't like the thunderstorm. The older she gets, the more she's afraid of the thunderstorm. Okay, so IW Events, thank you for joining me. Hi, Christine. Hi, Stephanie. Okay, who else is here? All right, so Stephanie, just text Stephanie Rich. Okay, yes, it's hotter today. Oh my gosh, Sean, how can it get any hotter? Hi, Priceless Images Photography. Thank you for joining me on Instagram. So I'm going to just wait for more people to come on. Then I'll do an introduction of myself. For those of you who joined me the first time, yes, you still have the storm since last night. Yes, it stopped and then it resumed this morning. It was crazy. Hi, Shona. I can see your name. Okay, I can see your name. So you're all good. You don't have to click on any link. Yeah, Daisy needs to make an appearance. Daisy, you want to come and make? She doesn't look so good right now. She's shaking. So come here, Daisy. Come here. Come here. Let me pet you. Come here, you silly. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. All right. So yeah, she doesn't like the thunderstorm. Hi, Dre. All right. So thank you so much for joining me. Let me just put my camera for Instagram. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me once again for our weekly Wednesday Facebook Live tutorial. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mayo Silvers. I am the owner of M2 Hospitality, a multiple six-figure event planning business. And I'm also the founder, event mentor, and coach for events for anyone, where we provide a mentorship program called the Unstoppable Eventrepreneur for event planners like you to start and grow your event planning company also into a multiple six-figure business. All right. So we just wrapped up our 5-day launch your event planning company workshop. I apologize for those of you last night that our behind the scene Zoom session couldn't Zoom from Zoom to Facebook. So, hey, technical difficulties. But, you know, for those of you who wants to have a recording, a video recording of what goes on behind the scenes inside the program, how it looks like inside the program, and our free members who haven't joined the program yet got to ask questions directly to our paid members inside the program. And I show what is going on in the online learning platform. What does your personalized growth chart looks like? How does the paid members Facebook group looks like? What goes on in there? I show everything, all the behind the scenes. So if this is something that you are interested in to look at the recording, just reach out to your concierge and we can email the link to you so you can take a look at that. Okay, so all right, so today, so hi, hey events, thank you for joining us. Hi, Liliotega07, thank you for joining us on Instagram. So yes, we wrapped up the workshop. It has been extremely fun for all of us. I hope that it has been very helpful for all of you who have joined us for those 5 days plus the bonus session on Monday, which we also had technical difficulties. So I hope that it has been a great session for you. I appreciate you giving me your time, posting your homework, and all the videos has been removed, brought down, and transferred over to the paid members Facebook group already. So those who newly enroll into our program can continue to enjoy the sessions that we had over the last 5 days, and now they're inside the paid members Facebook group. So you can go back and watch them to refresh what I have taught. But now you're inside the program, you get access to me. So. And we have our first session today at 12:45 for our paid members inside Zoom. So now, thank you once again for showing up for our weekly Wednesday Facebook Live. Remember, I was saying that we don't just show up for the workshop. We show up every Wednesday, right? Our mission is to help you to learn what you need to do to start and grow your event planning company. For those of you who have the urgency to want to grow faster and they don't want to figure things out, They want to be guided step by step, have someone to hold their hand, let someone to tell them what to do, how to do it, how to avoid mistakes. That's when you join the program. But if not, then just take what I've taught you and make sure you implement. Please, you must implement. If you don't implement, then you just wasted how many hours that you have spent with me? 9 hours that you have spent with me, right? So then that doesn't serve the purpose, okay? Always remember, if you make the time to attend any workshop or masterclass or course, whatever it is, make sure you implement, okay? All right, so today we have the pleasure, there you go, we have the pleasure of having, and somebody is Facebook user, somebody is interested, Stephanie. Oh, there you go, Stephanie shares. All right, hi, Stephanie shares. I haven't seen you for a while. Thank you for joining me on Wednesday. So yeah, for those of you who's interested in seeing the behind the scene video that we recorded last night, please reach out to your concierge and we will send you the link to watch the behind the scenes, okay? And then you guys have any questions and want to hop on a call with me after you watch that video, let me know, okay? We don't do this often, the behind the scene, but we got so many questions from so many members, like what exactly do you do after you join the program? Like, what do you do? What do you learn? How do you implement? How do we evaluate results? What kind of results can you get? So we have really good questions. One of the member actually asked, how long does it take for you to get your first client? That was a very good question, right? So what was the challenges that you faced after you joined the program? I love those questions that were being asked yesterday. Very real questions. So it's really raw, it's true and honest answer, okay? All right, so today we have the honor of having an attorney, okay, to come join us today for our Facebook Live tutorial. After the workshop, we still continue to serve you. We still continue to want to serve you and give you all the information that you need to start and grow your event planning company. So today I decided to have an attorney come on to teach us about the business aspect of your event planning business, right? So there are so many, hi Emily, thank you for joining me. So there's so many things that event planners don't like to do. You know we love to plan events. We are creative. We get very excited when we are planning events because that's what we do, right? That's our passion. But the business aspect, the accounting aspect, the business aspect is something that we really, sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And we really don't like to face all that because what do you mean? All those jargons, all those terminologies just scares me, even though I read contracts every day. So it puts you in an overwhelmed state, right? Overwhelmed. So today we have somebody who's gonna come on, who speaks like a human being and who is not gonna use big jargon, who's gonna speak in the language that you can understand. So I have the pleasure of inviting, let me just put him on stage. Hi, Jay. I have the pleasure.
Hi, May.
Razuk, who is an attorney who is based in California, to come on and teach us the 5 areas of risk that you should be aware of when you have your business. So Jay, do an introduction of yourself. Tell us who you are and what your company does and how you help your clients.
So yes, I'm Jay Razuk and I'm an attorney. Been that for, well, the first 10 years I was doing really big corporate litigation, the type that you might read in the Wall Street Journal, involving these billion-dollar companies, the Fortune 500s, trying to help them, keep the law, not break it, and run in the best way possible for their shareholders. And then I'm now transitioned. I really want to help businesses that are starting out and scaling, especially focusing on the scaling businesses. So my business is pro scale legal. So I'm providing templates and then clarity for people so that they can understand what they need to do to securely scale their business. Okay. So really excited to be here. And yeah, we're going to talk about 5 business risks so that you can sort of put a box around the whole legal universe and know what to be worried about and give you some ideas of how you can approach it.
Oh my God, you're already giving me the anxiety. The five risks. I remember when you when we first spoke and when you told me about one of the risks, I was like, I don't even know that risk exists. So, okay, I'm gonna let you take it away. So members, I'm not able to stream Jay onto Instagram. So if you want to actively participate and ask questions, so come into our Facebook group and watch it on Facebook. All right. If you don't mind, you can just hear him because I am streaming on the Instagram at the same time. You don't have to look at Jay. You want to just listen to him. You can. Any question, just put on the chat, on the comment on Instagram. And same thing here, my Facebook members, that you can put your questions on the chat as well, on the comment, and I will read the questions to Jay. All right, Jay. So tell us, what are the 5 risks? I'm all ready.
So the 5 risks is going to be, the first one is regulatory risk. Then we have tax risk. And then the third risk is going to be contract risk, competition risk, and then general liability. So we're going to touch on each of these, and we'll go back. And in fact, if those of you watching want to follow along, I do have a handout that you can grab. If you go to proscalelegal.com/scale, then you can go and download the document. Or actually, I think it'll be emailed to you, and then you could just follow along if you're a visual person. I'm such a visual person.
Not just you. Okay, so it's ProScale. Well, I can't post any comments. If Stephanie or Christine can type this down, it's ProScale, PROSCALE.
Legal,
proscalelegal.com/scale. Legal, right? proscalelegal.com/legal. You'll be able.
No, /scale.
/scale. Okay, proscalelegal.com/scale. You'll be able to download a PDF that explains these 5 risks as well, if you're a visual person. Okay. So, all right. So, Jay, so the very first risk, which is, proscalelegal.com/risk. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah.
All right.
Looks great. Thank you.
All right. So, the very first risk, regulatory. What does that mean?
So I guess maybe we should even step back and talk about what is risk. And risk itself, it really could be a simple concept. It's just the chance of something bad going to happen. And you can even quantify risk at times. You get mathematicians, they have a formula, and it's really simple. It's, how big of that bad thing is it going to be? Is it going to cost you $1 or is it going to cost you $1 million? And so that's one part of it, how the magnitude of this bad thing that could happen. And the other part of it is, what is the chance, the probability it might happen? So you could say, out of 1,000 times, one of the times this might pop up. So that's what it is. It's a function of those 2 things. So the more likely it is to happen, the bigger of a risk it is, and the larger the damage that can come from it, also the larger of a risk it is. So you can have something that's a small chance, but if it's really big, you still want to take efforts to prevent that from happening.
Okay.
So when we're talking about risk, this is what we're talking about. And we're going to be normally talking about what are the bad things that can happen to you in the legal profession. Maybe I'd like to see everybody's ideas. Share with me, okay, what are some bad things that you're really afraid about happening to you in your business?
Getting sued.
Yes, right? That's probably the number one thing. So getting sued.
Getting slapped by Uncle Sam, which I had. So getting slapped by Uncle Sam because my accountant didn't do a good job. People stealing my ideas. People breaching my contract. Just to name a few. So
you have just about hit every single category we're going to cover, man. So that's good. So we're going to touch on all of those things, and let's start off with regulatory risk, because to me, this is, I think, one of the scariest ones. And this is the one where perhaps everybody has the least amount of understanding. And regulatory risk is basically what you have to do, or else the government will come for you. And so the government has all sorts of rules. Congress is passing about 200 rules every year. And then you have all these different agencies in the government. And every year they're making about 3,000 rules. And when I'm saying rules, I'm not talking about just like 1 or 2 lines. I mean, they could be pages and pages for just one rule. So this is just compounding every year. And I've only mentioned the federal government, because you have state governments, you have local governments. But I have good news for you, which is, I believe your profession, what you do is event planners, you're not generally heavily regulated. When you're doing really big events, that's when you're really going to see the government wanting you to go and get permission. You have to get a permit. You got to get a license, or whatever, these things that you have to do more planning, got to arrange for security maybe. But when you're just planning a simple wedding at some church or, in someone's backyard, whatever, you're not going to have so much regulation coming into play. More where you're going to see it is making sure you're not lying to people. Actually, all of the law, just about all of the law can boil down to just a few principles. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, and don't kill. If you're doing a good job.
Don't lie, don't cheat, don't kill, don't steal. Get all
exactly. That? If you make that your code, you're not going to do those things. You're going to keep the law generally very happy. We just have millions of laws trying to tell you don't do those 4 things. Where it gets tricky, though, is sometimes the law might say you have to go out of your way to tell somebody something. And if you don't, the law will more or less say you've lied. And it's hard because, you might not know you need to say that.
Oh, yeah. I think that's the problem. I think when we are doing events, the main challenge is sometimes you don't even know what regulatory risk you're exposing yourself. I'm going to give you one example. I've done huge events that I have to have the city get involved. So we have to get a lot of permits and also a lot of license and permits, egress, ingress, disposal, waste, things like that. Things that we don't know until we have someone who is in the know told me, or the city official told me that, you're going to get all these permits. I'll be like, well, are you serious? Then I want to go tell my client. She's like, maybe we should just make it smaller, make the event smaller. So thank you for letting us know about that.
Yeah, and see, what you just did was actually what I recommend to everybody is reach out to the appropriate government official to work with and say, hey, what should I be doing? Especially for events, I think you're more going to need to worry about at the local level. So yeah, you talk with your county, you talk with your city where the event's going to be, and they should have someone there that could say you need to do A, B, C, and D. So definitely, that was the right thing to do.
One question came out, which is a really good question, that say that if, do we need to have a client sign an agreement if they use things from our emergency kit, which is administering medicine, okay? So, as an event planner, we always travel around with our emergency kit, especially when we do weddings. And one of it is mascara touch-up, foundation touch-up, and Tylenol or aspirin, okay, for headache. So if we have it in our kit and we offer it to our brides or any of our guests, and they have an allergic reaction to it without us knowing, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I guess the best way to cover yourself would be to just have them sign some document saying like you won't be liable if that happens. That one is going to be really depending on what state you're in, probably, and what is the case law like, what are the rules like there. So I can't say this is what would happen here or there. It's going to be really state specific, probably. Right.
I think I never dispense medicine to my client. Okay. So if she has
medicine for sure.
Yeah. If I have, if she has a headache, I would say that, what do you normally take? And she says that I take XYZ, Tylenol, ibuprofen, a leaf. I wouldn't be the one handling her out. I say, would you like me to get the venue to give that to you? Then I'll just push past the liability to the venue. And then the venue will have their own liability costs. And then they will have the person who's consuming it sign off on that. So that's how I do that.
Yeah. And if it's over the counter, obviously the risk is lower. They're presumed to be safe, and someone's always taking something that should help a bit. But yeah, it's so sad that we live in this day and age where people will hold you liable for just being a nice person, try to do what's right.
I know. Unfortunately, yes. Or they take advantage of your kindness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's regulatory. Basically, it's by the government, by the state. There's no negotiation around it.
Right. And so, like the government, talk about regulatory, for example, if you have a prescribed medication, if you are given something for your asthma, and then if the bride is having an asthma attack and you give them that medication, like you right there have broken a government rule, and they might come and punish you for that. So that one's very clear cut. Never ever do that.
Yeah. So another one of member wrote that this is a tough one because she always have Tylenol in her kit. And, it's like what Jay said, if it's over the counter, then it's easily accessible. Okay. Now the law comes in. If something would have happened to them, is well, it's easily accessible. You're not really at fault, but you are the one who dispense it. So you got to be very, very careful. And I don't do that myself because I come from a hotel industry background. We never do that when I was working in a hotel. But as a planner, I still don't do it. I still don't do it. That's why I don't give out anything with nuts in my snack pack. I don't have any nuts or anything with wheat. So you got to be very careful. Okay, you can have just a piece of document that you can write. It's not even have to be affidavit or attorney draft. Just something so that they can acknowledge that you have allowed them to dispense it to you. To them, and you're not responsible for any breakout or allergy or any reactions. So when we go to court, even though it's not an official document, but you have to sign off your name, your company name, and your title is in your LLC, okay? So that you're protected. So they are suing your company, but you have these people to sign the waiver form, so you are somehow in the perception of protected, right?
And just so you know, too, if you actually have the Tylenol in your kit, and if that could have saved someone's life, perhaps, and you had it there and you didn't give it to them, maybe you're at risk too. So I recommend, if you don't want to give it out, take it out of your kit. That's better. I remember when I went to school, we were asking the administration to put in place these devices that if someone had a sudden heart attack and they needed to, be resuscitated, they'll be there on campus. And the school didn't want to do it because they're afraid of, well, if we have it there, someone uses it and then something goes wrong, now they're liable too. So sometimes even having something there available could be problematic. So
correct.
Take it out if you don't want to give it.
Correct, Felicia. Anything that you put on your goodies that has nuts or wheat, you need to have, whatever goodies you give out should have a list of ingredients, okay? So that whoever is consuming it, you are protected. Whoever is consuming is at their own risk, okay? All right, so now we go to the next risk.
So we just talked about regulatory. Now we're talking about tax. And I think, as you mentioned, May, your accountant one time did something wrong. You didn't pay enough taxes, and then you had to pay back those taxes, and then pay penalties, interest. They hit you hard, right?
Big time, $20,000.
Wow. So yeah, tax is a big one. Tax is one of those risks where it will cost you is really big, and then the probability of it happening is really big. So how do you deal with this? Like you got to have an accountant who knows what they're doing. You could always hire an auditor at the end of the year to also double check what your accountant's doing. If you have the money, you could do that. That's costly, but that's what the big corporations do. And then you also need to make sure you're structured correctly. And we'll talk about that at the end, but you can take lots of steps to also help reduce the amount of taxes you pay. You always hear about the taxes of the rich, and why do they only pay, less taxes than the average person? That's because they're doing all these things that the tax code says you can do if you want to avoid paying taxes.
Yeah, I learned my lesson really hard. So
yeah. And those of you who are scaling, like your business is growing fast because you're listening to everything May is telling you to do. Like you need to meet right away with an accountant or a lawyer and start taking steps to protect yourself, because the government, and I'm not talking about protect yourself from, because you're doing something wrong. I mean, protect yourself from even reducing what you need to pay because you're employing smart tax strategies. That's big. And what I'm telling you right now, this could save you tens of thousands of dollars. Because I've heard lots of people in May's situation, when you're growing really fast, you suddenly make a lot of money and you weren't structured right to avoid having to pay a lot of taxes that you didn't have to.
Correct. Yep. That's right. Tax structuring strategy, very, very important. So interview a lot of your accountant. I think I've gone through like 4 or 5 accountants. So it's crazy.
Wow.
Very stressful, very, very stressful. And hopefully it will be better moving forward. Okay, so the tax. All right, got to make sure that you are structured correctly. Got to make sure that you pay Uncle Sam what you owe. All right. So again, like what Jay said, you need to apply strategy when it comes to the tax law, the tax risk. And one of it is you should always be an LLC, not as a sole proprietorship, correct?
Um, it depends what you mean when you say LLC. So you have two options when you're an LLC. Actually, you have many options. LLC is nice because it could be taxed any way you want it. So the default way an LLC is taxed is all the money your LLC makes goes straight to your personal income. And then you're going to pay all the self-employment taxes on that.
Correct. And then the other one is the SCorp. So you can opt to be taxed as an SCorp where you draw a salary. So that will reduce the tax that you need to pay because your net profit also reduced because your salary is written off as an expense. Okay. So you want to do that. All right. Perfect.
Exactly. And you're paying less self-employment taxes that way. You're only paying, well, I should say just self-employment, but part of your self-employment taxes are Social Security and also Medicare.
Okay.
And when you're getting paid self-employment tax, all of your self-employment income is subject to the Social Security and Medicare tax. And Medicare at some point will continue and it will get larger as you make more income. And around $160,000, I think you're done paying your Social Security.
Okay.
But to avoid paying that increasing and never-ending Medicare tax, you switch over to an LLC. You switch over to an SCorp, and then you're only paying those taxes on your salary, as May was talking about, and then all the rest will then not be subject to self-employment taxes. You'll just come in straight to income to you. That's a huge savings. So usually, depending on your accountant, they'll say when you're making around $30,000 to $70,000 a year on your business, that's when you should really start considering switching over from a regular LLC to an LLC that's being taxed as an S corporation.
Correct. Okay, thank you so much. So what's the next risk?
The next risk is contract risk. So this is a chance that you or that other person might breach the contract. Either way, it could be very costly. You want to make sure that other person you're contracting with is going to deliver on what you're counting them to do. Maybe you pay them a lot of money up front and you need them to deliver. Or maybe you've done a lot of services. You're doing all this planning for a big event. You want to get your money, right? But there's different techniques you could do to reduce that risk, such as insisting on getting paid up front. Or if you're the one paying, you pay a part up front and then you pay some at the end. There's ways you can protect yourself. But basically, if you're at the point where you or the other person is being sued, like it's game over, because now you already have your hands in or you're now at the hands and mercy of a court to decide how things go. And almost all contracts are written in ways that terms can go one way or the other. It's very, very hard to have a perfectly worded contract that is very clear and can't be disputed. Because to do that is going to be an extremely long, lengthy contract, and you would complain if your attorney gave you one that long.
So can you talk a little bit about how we should sign off on our contract?
Yeah.
So we tend to sign off as whatever title we want to call ourselves. Can you tell us a little bit about the last part of the contract?
So almost everybody I talk to, almost every single business starts off signing their contracts the wrong way. And one of the most important parts of the contract is identifying who are the parties to that contract and making sure that those parties are the ones that are properly signing it. And what I mean by that is you have a business, you have an LLC. You need to be signing your contracts as your LLC, not as yourself as an individual. Because if you're signing it as yourself as an individual, you personally are now on the hook, and there's no point for you having your LLC.
Okay.
So first what you do is you make sure you sign as your LLC. You know, you put whatever the name of it is, or if you have a corporation, the name of your corporation. And then you would say by, and then you have a line where then you could sign with your name, and then you below it put your name and your title. And then this is real important. What is your title? I know lots of people who have LLCs and they say they're president or CEO or something like that, but I don't know any state where that's what you are by default of your LLC. LLCs traditionally are run by what's called managers. So when you form an LLC, you normally have to say this person is going to be the manager. And maybe every year you have to tell the state who the managers are. And the managers are the ones who will have the ability to bind the company, to enter into contracts and sign on behalf of them. So if you want to be president or CEO, you can do that, but you have to have then the proper documentation saying you've made yourself the president or CEO of your LLC and you have the power to enter into contracts.
Okay. Yeah, you see, this is like a mic drop moment. So the question somebody asked is, how difficult is it to switch from LLC to SCorp? It's not difficult to switch from LLC to SCorp, but as an SCorp, you need to be able to draw salary, and your salary should be at least 50% of your income. And you have to draw salary. Okay, so to switch from SCorp to LLC, that's the challenge. So once you decide to go to SCorp, you got to stay at SCorp. Otherwise, it's going to take you, I think, 5 years to revert back to LLC. So got to talk to your accountant. Stephanie Rich, you are inside our mentorship program. We actually have a 1.5 hours long session with Jay, and it's stored inside our online learning platform, and it was very interactive with a lot of Q&A. So you can go watch that session as well. Okay, Stephanie Rich. So yeah.
Thank you for the feedback, Stephanie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So as a registered agent, can you sign a contract on behalf of the LLC? No.
No.
Not at all.
Exactly. What's a registered agent, May?
A registered agent is just an entity, a business that's representing you as who is able to receive mails. That's it. To receive any official documents. So the government will require, your state requires a business that is open during operational hours 8 to 5, that if there's any letters or government notices or official letters, they get delivered, somebody is there to receive it. Your registered agent has no power to act on your behalf. Their only power is to receive your mail. And also, some registered agent charge an extra fee for reminding you to file and renew your LLC every year. That's it. Okay?
Yeah. And in fact, the most important document that registered agent is going to receive is any complaints, any lawsuits that are filed against you.
Correct.
So you really want to make sure you use a legitimate service who will very promptly tell you if you've been sued. If you just have some friend who's often gone on trips and then they receive a complaint against you, you usually have a short amount of time to respond, and you might not have a good excuse to say, well, my registered agent was on a trip for a month. So yeah, definitely take it seriously. But yeah, they can't act on your behalf. All they do is forward stuff onto you. Important documentation, like May was saying. Yeah.
So Emily, to answer your question, yes, you put your company name, Sweet Southern Occasions, LLC. Then the next line, you sign, by, then you sign your name, and then you type your name in print, Emily Wooten, title manager. That is correct. And then how do you make yourself president and CEO? You can't. So when
you can, but it'll take documentation, and you would have to use a lawyer for that.
Correct. So when you register your LLC, you only have two options: member or manager. Okay. So, but if you want to call yourself something else, then you need to have additional documentation to say that I'm appointing myself as the president and CEO, and I have the signing power for this LLC. A lot more work. Don't waste your time. Okay. All right. So
yeah, exactly.
You cannot list yourself as the founder, president, CEO, and manager. You only have two options: member or manager. Then you get an attorney to do a documentation or letter to file it to your state and say that I'm going to appoint myself as the president, CEO, and I have signing power of this LLC. Okay.
And just let you know, from a legal perspective, being the founder doesn't have any legal significance. Doesn't mean you have any authority to sign on behalf of the business. That's something you put on LinkedIn, but it's not what you put on your contracts. And also, do not sign as the owner, because the whole point of having a business or an LLC, having an LLC or a corporation is the owners are protected from liability. They put money in, but then they can't be sued more for whatever they put into the business.
Correct.
But when you go and you sign your contract as an owner, a really clever attorney might come in and try to say, you are personally liable. You signed it as yourself as an individual. So don't do that. You sign as a manager, or, if it's a corporation, like the president and CEO, and now you're acting on behalf of the business.
Correct.
So you really have to think of the business as a separate person. That's the point of setting up a corporation or LLC. In the eyes of the law, they're like a separate human being from you and me. But they have agents who can work on its behalf. Those agents who can work on its behalf, who can sign on its behalf, would be the officers, president or CEO if it's a corporation, the managers if it's an LLC.
Okay. So now the question is, can you have more than one registered agent? No. One registered agent only. And can your managing partner, your business partner, I would assume, be a registered agent? Yes. Just understand, when you put a registered agent, the address you're going to put is, it could be your business address, but the business address has to be an operating business that is open, physical address that's open and able to receive notices. All right. So if your managing partner doesn't mind and you're not using your business address, you're using your home address, he doesn't mind, then he can be the registered agent. No problem. Okay. So now another question. So not being the president founder, unless you are the legal paper, another form of processing that has power of attorney. No. So
it's pretty close. So not being the founder, president, I think we're saying like, okay, so you shouldn't sign as those. Those don't have any authority unless you have some document giving them authority. So yeah, founder, you just never want to give founders authority. You don't need to. You have the official positions. Like as corporations, you have to, your state is going to require you to identify like a president or CEO. You're going to have to tell the state who is your treasurer and who's your corporate secretary. Like that's what the state wants to see. And then with an LLC, the government wants to know who are your managers. And then if you want to change it, if you want to give anybody else authority, if you have like lower level employees, then yeah, you can issue resolutions that will then give power to those people to do whatever actions you want them to take. But again, I really recommend you work with an attorney to do that.
Correct.
And I noticed this is a lot of people use LegalZoom to help them with these sort of documents. They don't know what they're doing and they're doing it wrong. They're not completing the documents right. And in theory, then they haven't properly set themselves up. They haven't finished properly creating the business, giving themselves authority. So again, really work with an attorney who can help you in your state to make sure you're doing it right. Because if you do it wrong, you again could have a very clever attorney come down and then invalidate everything you're doing or invalidate some contract you entered into.
Yep.
And or might sort of invalidate your business and go and sue you directly.
Yep.
These are real big risks here. So you got to make sure you're doing it right.
Okay. So Dre, PO box is the business address, yes, but you will need a registered agent. If you have a PO box, you will need a registered agent. Okay, for sure. So what's the average cost of an attorney? I love this question.
Oh, actually, though, to go back to Drea's question, though, a lot of states and governments aren't happy with just a PO box. They actually want a physical address. So like for me, I use Regis. It's like a national chain that they offer like a virtual office. So you actually can physically meet there if you ever need to. They can collect your mail and forward it to you. But you actually now have a legitimate address that you can use. But I'll tell you, even still, banks aren't happy with my Regis address. Banks still force me, let's say, to use my home address for communications with them. So depending on who you're dealing with, they might not even be happy with something like that. Yeah, like WeWork. WeWork might be another way that could work. These shared workspaces are probably your cheapest option. And again, not everybody might be happy with it. But I really do suggest that you have a separate location, a separate address that you're using so that your home address doesn't go on the documents that are going to be filed with the government and then are public record that anybody and everybody can easily go and look up and then know where you live. You don't want that. You want anonymity. You want a little bit of distance between yourself and what's going out into the public.
Okay, we have 5 minutes. We have 2 more risks to cover, but so we're going to speed up a little bit. So what's the average cost of an attorney? So I'll let you answer this question.
It really does depend where you live. If you're out in the Midwest and the South, maybe your attorneys might be a lot cheaper, maybe under $200 an hour. But if you're in California or New York, you can easily see attorneys in the $300 to $500 range per hour. But what you want to do normally is, okay, two ways you could save money. Work with an attorney who maybe has pre-built packages, and they could give you a flat rate up front. Say, this is, if you sign up with me, I'll give you X, Y, Z, all in one package, flat amount. And those actually would probably be very good lawyers because they do whatever that thing is often. So look for that type of lawyer. And another thing too, and May does this, right? You probably tell everybody, right? You could buy templates, and then you turn around and then have your lawyers just review those templates. And that really is, it's easier on the lawyer, it's easier on you, and you can save a lot of money by going with that approach. And I've just heard recently that some people hire lawyers who outright told them, well, go get a template and then I'll work on it. So
correct.
That's the thing.
You want to get a template that's attorney vet, all right? Attorney drafted. But when an attorney, just like inside our mentorship program, we have all the templates for contracts, okay? And I
oh no, May's breaking up.
In the events field. So I have that, but I also tell my members that the law is very different from every state. But I have already done 90% of the leg work for you. So when you go speak to your attorney in your state, your attorney only going to take maybe 15, 30 minutes to just review and make some small tweak versus your attorney drafting a whole contract for you that's going to take 2 to 5 hours. So you save a whole chunk of money. Okay. All right. So let's go talk about our fourth risk.
So the fourth risk is competition risk. So this is a chance that someone will show up and start competing with you, maybe taking your stuff, or vice versa. You are infringing on someone else, another competitor's rights. This really involves intellectual property. Intellectual property is going to be how you protect yourself, your trademarks, your trade secrets, your copyrights, and some professions it's patents. Patents aren't going to be so big for you, but if you have good branding, if you have things which are really unique, you have a book that really sets you apart, these things now are intellectual property that you can own and use to defend yourself from competitors.
Entrepreneur is trademark, all right? So it's registered and we're getting our trademark soon. So nobody can use this name, Unstoppable Eventrepreneur. So understand that you can put whatever you want to put on your contract, on your proposal, and you say it's copyright. Listen, it's not really going to stand in court, okay?
No.
I just want you to be aware of that.
We talked a lot about that last time.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, you really need to understand the difference between trademarks and copyrights. And copyrights protect the expression of ideas. It's not going to protect your ideas themselves. So it's limited in that sense. And then trademarks are all about avoiding consumer confusion. We don't want people to be confused about what service, who's the provider of the service, where are these goods coming from. You want labels, you want branding to tell you exactly who is that business you're dealing with. So even the government really wants to see your trademarks being respected.
Okay, so what's the last risk?
The last risk, I call it general liability risk, and that's kind of just the default everything else. Those of you who have insurance, you know about general liability insurance, and that's more if you have like a premises and someone shows up, they slip, they fall, they get injured. That's the main thing that it covers. But I also put in other things like errors and omissions. That's fancy speak for you said something and you left out something that's really important, and someone went and acted on it and got injured. So you could get insurance for that too.
Professional liability in the insurance world, okay? It's the same thing. Omissions and omissions of error, and it's the same as professional liability. Event planners, we have to get general liability and professional liability. There's no option here, okay? So when you start charging your client for your service, you got to have these two. There's no messing around with this, okay?
Yeah, exactly. And And I know May's got the hookups with the with people. Again, she could give you great advice on insurance. So definitely listen to May when she tells you what to do on insurance, because probably the costs aren't big, but when something bad happens, now you got money that can help pay for your attorney's fees. You know, you could get a good attorney who's going to defend you, and then if you have to settle, now you got money that could pay to settle it too. So
All right,
definitely
Jay,
get it.
you have been a pleasure as usual. You're so clear. I hope every attorney is like you. So can you do me a big favor? Can you tell us how we can follow you on your social media and also on your Facebook, so that we can continue to learn from you? And if anyone is living around California or just need a general consultation, how can they reach out to you?
So first is proscalelegal.com. There you can find how to get a hold of me if you would like to have a legal clarity call. You can jump on and set that up. And I do have a Facebook group that you're always welcome. I'd love to have you join, and then you can ask questions. I can make videos explaining those things. If you go on and search for the Business Law for Online Practitioners.
Okay.
And that's the name of that group. And those really are the two best ways. And if you want to look me up on Facebook, I am the only Jay Razook, I think, on the planet. So
So his last name is Razzouk. His company name is ProScale Legal. All right, and and his Facebook group is. Tell me again.
Business Law for Online Practitioners.
Okay, Business Law for Online Practitioners. All right. So yes, Jay is available for hire. So you can get in contact with him by the handles that I just dropped. So yeah, there you go, proscalelegal.com to connect with Jay. He does a Facebook group as well. Just search Business Law for Online Practitioners. Okay. So thank you so much, Jay, for your time today. Probably have to have you come back again. So
yeah, you have a great group. I really enjoyed the questions.
Very, very engaging. And this video is evergreen and it stays inside our Facebook group. So new members come in, they get to watch as well. So I got to go. Thank you so much for your time. My paid members, I'm hopping onto Zoom right now. Sorry, we're 3 minutes late. So see you inside Zoom. Thank you so much, Jay. You have a great day. All of you, I see you next Wednesday. Have a great and safe 4th of July. All right? 12 p.m. Eastern Time Zone next Wednesday for our next Facebook Live tutorial. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, May. Bye-bye.
Bye.